So imagine that, a prequel to a horror film. Sure, let's talk about that. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Movie Emporium spoiler discussion slash ending explains of Orphan First Kill, the newest film from director William Brent Bell. Okay, so like I said in my intro, this is a spoiler discussion ending explains, full spoilers for Orphan First Kill. It's a really interesting movie to talk about because if you already know the first movie, you kind of it has some twists and turns in the sequel, but it's not as revealing as the original movie was. But like I said, just warning, if you haven't seen the movie, this is a spoiler discussion. So Orphan First Kill is a prequel to the original Orphan movie that actually stars Isabelle Fuhrman as Esther. It also had, of course, Vera Farmiga and of course Peter Sarsgaard in it. And it was about a young girl who's adopted, and of course we find out she's a 30-year-old woman who has dwarfism and stuff like that. And so they decided 13 years later to make a prequel, and that prequel sets in motion everything that will lead up to the original movie. So of course we see the insane asylum that she actually came from, the one that was actually mentioned in the first movie, the same doctor and everything. Basically, she is the worst criminal in this insane asylum. She's the most feared, I guess you could say. If she disappears, people worry about her. And in the process, there is this kind of psychiatrist or psychologist that comes in who tries to help her in a lot of ways. And things don't go very well. You know, you have to have Lena's character Esther get to America at some point. So in the process of everything, she has an individual, a guy who's really into her, you know, because he knows she's 30 years old, even though she has dwarfism and stuff like that. And she's able to escape, and she, of course, the origins of how she came up with the name Esther are revealed. She basically finds a way to get to America. She looks up in the database of the psychologist or psychiatric person that she kills. You know, I thought maybe that person would live longer, but apparently not. She ends up finding someone that looks kind of like her in a little bit. It looks kind of like the Esther character, or kind of like the Lena character. And this is the origins of why she's called Esther throughout the entire movie. But she's able to, you know, thanks to the cops, she's able to reunite with the Julia Stiles character, who is the mother who is missing the child. You know, the fact that Esther, Lena, is able to convince her that she's in Russia is a little suspect, I guess you could say. But in the process of everything, you know, Esther is brought back to America, where we, of course, meet the Rossif Sutherland character, who is the father, who is very distraught because he lost his daughter, who he's very connected with. And bringing Esther into the mix, she's at first very kind of trying to figure out the situation, trying to get her, you know, claws into everything. And in the process, they also have a son who, of course, is a fencing champion, a little, what you would call snobbish in the rich area and stuff like that, because they're very rich people. But in the process of everything, Esther's trying to get her, you know, claws into the family, and then eventually probably escape and, you know, move on to with their life, you know, because I'm sure the people in Estonia, the insane asylum, were looking for her. But then comes like the twist about an hour in. Most of the stuff is kind of like, you know, Esther just trying to manipulate the situation. You know, you think this thing's happening, she's going to, of course, the psychiatric person and stuff like that, and she, you know, is kind of convinced the mom, you know, the Julia Stiles Trisha character, that she is, of course, you know, Esther and stuff like that. But then the twist happens about 50 to 58 minutes into the movie, and you find out that not only does Trisha, the Julia Stiles character, know it's not Esther, and of course we have the detective who is on the case and, you know, kind of figures it out himself, but Esther goes over to, or Lena, Esther, whatever, goes over to the guy's house, ends up killing him, and then of course Julia Stiles shows up, the Trisha character, and she shoots this cop dead. But it's kind of revealed, and you have to kind of throw all logic and reason out the window to kind of get this movie, you know, kind of where it's going. That Julia Stiles character, Trisha, and her son had actually killed Esther, and they had hid the body. And basically, there's this whole thing about, you know, something that Esther did that really upset her, and the body was killed. The brother killed her, and stuff like that. And they basically blackmail Lena into keeping the con going so that the husband can keep going, the Rufus, you know, character. And it basically leads to a showdown between Trisha and, of course, Lena's character. And as you expect, this movie needs to get to the point where, of course, the original movie happens. So things are happening. You know, she tries to escape. That doesn't go very well. She tries to push the two off the train, the son and the mom off the train. That doesn't go very well, and it leads to basically a confrontation at the house. And in the process of everything, the son, of course, is killed. He's actually impaled by a bow and arrow, which is kind of cool. And then fire happens. the Esther, Lena, and Trisha make themselves to the roof. The husband shows up, and basically Trisha's character falls to her death in a pretty gruesome fashion. And in the process of everything, it basically comes to the realization. The husband comes to the realization that Esther is not Esther. It's actually a different person because of false teeth and stuff like that. He falls to his death. The house burns to the ground, and all evidence is burned. And basically, that will lead into the kind of original movie. She now goes into kind of the system, where adopted kids show up, and it kind of leads off, and that's the end of the movie and everything. So it's a movie that is basically playing up the fact that we are learning the origins of Esther, or Lena's character. We're learning how she's going to eventually, be with the couple that we see in the original movie, the origins of who Esther is and what she is in this family and stuff like that we do hear about in the original movie. So that's kind of the movie in a nutshell. That's kind of the explanation. It's an hour and 35 minutes, so it moves pretty quickly. So some of the revelations and stuff like that are just kind of, they're falling into place like they should, as a typical horror slash suspense film does. And this is a film that once again I didn't see a need for, to be fairly honest. You think about the character of Esther and the kind of the reveal that happens in the first movie, and who, depending on how you feel about the movie, you gotta admit the reveal was actually kind of cool. The fact that this young girl, because Isabelle Fuhrman was 10 years old when she filmed the original movie, and now this is 13 years later, so she's like 25 years old. The idea of just this like 10-year-old girl having dwarfism and stuff like that, and the idea of like who she is and what she is, and she's like a serial killer and stuff like that, that's really cool. That's a really kind of interesting concept, similar to the director of this film's other film, The Boy, when you find out he's hidden in like the walls and stuff like that. But the thing about this movie, and the thing that still bothered me even after watching it, is the simple fact that when you go into an origin story of a character like this, and you bring him into, you basically find out what happened before the original movie, you actually get rid of the mystique of the original movie. You make the original movie the kind of, at that point, which is problematic. I've seen it happen in lots of horror films where they go back and they explore like the concept of why the original movie worked as well as it did. And I guess my main problem is just like, you basically ruined the first movie. Now people really know what's happening. It's kind of out there and open. I mean, granted, the movie is 13 years old, but when you kind of sit down and you think about it, the idea of like the Sixth Sense and stuff like that, and that, twist and that concept is really original. But if you went back and did like the Sixth Sense prequel with like everything that happened before it, and you kind of lay out the whole thing, it just doesn't make any sense. So that's what this movie's main problem is just the fact that it exists. It's actually a pretty decently well done movie, and actually would have worked on its own if it had been kind of a different story and having a different person. But the fact that they bring Isabelle Fuhrman, who's actually pretty decent in this movie, and you kind of thrust it into the mix of how she got to where she's originally going to end up in the original movie, I hate to say it, but that just doesn't work for me, to be fairly honest. It doesn't make the movie bad, because like I said, it is enjoyable. I think, Julia Stiles is doing a pretty good job in this movie, and I think the father and the son are pretty decent in this movie. And it's a very kind of standard horror suspense thriller, and it just really kind of ruins the mystique of that original movie, and that's where the problems lie. And on top of that, like the twist and the reveal of Trish knowing that Esther was killed because they killed her and stuff like that, and they threw her down in a well, to the idea of like how Esther is able to just like be like a superhuman in a lot of aspects. It's just, I don't know, it feels a little convenient, a little on the nose about things when it comes to suspense horror films. And it's the same thing that happened between The Boy and Brahms the Boy 2, where the kind of twist and turn of Brahms the Boy 2 just kind of ruined everything for the original movie, which the original movie was fine, but like the Orphan movie, it was fine, but it at least had that cool that cool twist. It'd be like Sleepaway Camp or 1 or 2, whatever the reveal is, and then you go back and you learn about the back history of the mother and why she made her son into a woman and stuff like that. But the movie will make money. It won't make a lot of money, but it'll make enough money to justify its purpose. And on top of that, it's on Paramount Plus as well as in theaters, so you got a little bit of audience there. It just feels like it just didn't need to happen, to be fairly honest. But once again, it is meant for the people that love Orphan, who have seen the original movie, that want to see this kind of thing. Just know going in that if you haven't seen it and you're gonna watch this movie, you're gonna completely ruin the whole conceit and kind of coolness that is the original movie. But if I had any positives, it's shot pretty well. It looks pretty nice when it comes to like how the director visualizes stuff. There's like a very dreamlike feel to it, but there's also kind of like a creepiness tone to it when it comes to that. And on top of everything, Isabelle Fuhrman's still really good in the movie. Like I said, Julia Stiles is having a lot of fun, and it's just overall, for a movie, if it were like on its own, it would be really good. But as a Orphan movie, it's a little bit substandard when it comes to the original movie, but it still has its fun, death moments and kills and stuff like that. It's very, very gory and bloody, which is, like the original movie. And I just think it's a film that if you've seen the original, I think you should definitely watch, because I think you'll still enjoy it. Just know going in that if you have not seen the original, you might want to watch that first and then come back and watch this and understand that, it'll ruin the whole mystique to it. So, but with that said, that's kind of where my spoiler discussion kind of will lie. Like I said, it definitely leads into the next movie with her being adopted and stuff like that. It's still a fine movie. So that's just kind of where I lie. But anyways, with that said, that is my spoiler discussion / ending explains to this movie. There isn't what I would call like major kind of questions you have if you already know the original movie, so it's not really like a major spoiler discussion, but I feel like it was better to talk about it in a spoiler sense than it is to talk about it in a non-spoiler sense. So with that said, thank you so much for watching, and in the comments below, what do you think of the original Orphan movie? Are you looking forward to this Orphan First Kill movie? What did you think of the reveal? Now this is spoiler territory, so let me know in the comments. Otherwise, thank you so much. If you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you liked the video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.